Yeah? So where's your broomstick? Witches fly on broomsticks.
I need no broomstick to fly.
What do you need?
What's your favorite scary movie? Swallow this.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Arrow in the Head show. Lance, that makes you John, who I believe is also the Arrow, right? You're the guy in the guy with the hat.
That guy. Yeah, that guy. Hey, how you doing, Lance? How you doing, everybody?
Good.
I'd be better if Julian Sands was found alive sooner than later. I gotta admit, it's kind of hitting me a little bit. Not that I know the guy, but through film industry circles, I know people that know him and stuff like that. And all I've heard that he's a sweetheart, he's a great man, very kind, funny guy, and he loves hiking and climbing, which I can relate to that. Yeah, no, it's kind of upsetting me that it's been now 10 days that he's stuck on Mount Baldy with severe avalanche, severe weather. So I'm not going to put anything negative out in the universe, but I'm concerned for Mr. Sands, definitely.
I don't know. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking who passed in 2022 because I was like, why not ruin my day? And I see those people. I'm just like, I get because it's just one of those things, like contextualizing things, and I got kind of like bummed out. And then when I saw the news, I was like, dude, and Sands is one of those guys that I don't think about often, except for when, I sit back and this guy was actually instrumental in like a lot of things in my childhood. We've talked about the Warlocks, and I'm a weird kid, so Boxing Helena, Arachnophobia,
Naked Lunch.
Yeah, all those weird movies that I used to watch a lot and still love. It's like, dude, this guy was always a cool bad guy. It's like, dude, 2023, come on, man. Come on. So I'm let's be optimistic. I don't know. The best thing I could do is just, man, I could hope. I really hope. So
he's been on my mind. I actually went hiking over the weekend, and in my head, I'm like, this one's for you, Sands. Yeah.
Let's rock it out. But I guess I know what you're drinking, John. But maybe people don't. John, what are you drinking?
Gin and tonic.
Tonic.
Yeah. Which is good actually, because it's trying to find positives. It's gin and it's tonic water that's sugar free, so it's like a healthy, somewhat alcoholic drink.
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, sugar is really what's going to do it to you. The booze will kill you on its own. Actually, hold on. Sorry, I just realized that I put the shirt on really quick. I went up a button too high.
There you go. Come on. I knew something was wrong.
The good news is I'm also drinking something sad, so it'll just be a sad day. Okay. I got one of those really, really awful wine in a can things again called day drinking. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's like $2 at my.
Well, I love the name, day drinking. That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I don't know the patent on this. Maybe they own it. Who knows? But day drinking's fun. Do it responsibly. Get the sun. Get a little hat. Have a good time. But this is not good. So I'm going to be choking this down with you.
Well, look. Well, cheers to you, my friend. Cheers to all of you. And cheers to Mr. Julian Sands. We really hope that you're found safe and alive, and you found a corner to huddle up and warm up, and you had all your hiking gear, everything to be able to sustain staying 10 days on a mountain. So to
Sands.
Julian Sands, yeah.
Hello, my friends! Hey!
Here's the deal. John, you and me talked about my favorite part 2 a little while ago with your friend Warwick, sweetheart. I think now it's time to call full circle and hit the first Warlock, which was the first that I saw.
Warlock.
There was some production issues, or not production, but distribution issues, correct?
The film was New World, right?
Yes.
New World.
Yes.
Yeah, New World had it, the same guys that put out Hellraiser, and then they went bankrupt. So if memory serves me right, the film was released internationally in 1989, but was only released domestically North America in 1991 by Trimark Pictures, who acquired the property, and then they went on to make the sequel as well. So yeah, and I saw it on the big screen actually.
Oh,
yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, no, I was pretty
1991.
excited. Yeah,
Young John, huh?
yeah, young John with diapers. But yeah, no, I remember really enjoying the trailer. And actually, they had an angle in the trailer that they actually removed in the film because the people got offended by it, so they removed it. There's a scene in the trailer where the Warlock, Julian Sands, says to the psychic, and it's a deleted scene because they reshot that scene, says to the psychic, "You're about something along the lines of, you are the first one to lay eyes on the new Messiah."
First to have lain eyes upon the new Messiah.
The whole trailer is designed, Satan also has a son. It's all designed like, this is like Satan's version of Christ, and he self-proclaims himself as the new Messiah. And in a test screening, people got offended. So they removed all that shit. So there's no more, him referring to himself as the Messiah. He's not Satan's son. He's never referred as Satan's son. He's just one of his lackeys. So yeah, that trailer made me want to go see it. I'm like, oh fuck, Satan's son, man, it's gonna get groovy. But then they removed all of it. But I still enjoyed the picture. I will be honest, when I first saw it in the cinemas, I thought it was a bit flat.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit flat. And that's why I always went more towards part 2, which is a bit more like, so it's so like having watched part 2 recently and now having rewatched part 1, they're so different in tone and approach to the material. I can't say, I used to say I love part 2 more than part 1, but having rewatched part 1, it's different. But I appreciated it more on this recent run than I did when I first saw it.
I was going to say, I want to actually go back real quick about the Messiah stuff. The one thing I forgot the detail that I got this time, because it's been a while since I've watched it. That's why we talked about doing this movie is kind of do the two-parter, because 3 doesn't exist. Is that the book, that little Necronomicon thing he's starting pages for,
the Grand Grimoire,
is to speak the name of God, though, and bring a part. So it's like it is a pretty integral part. I'm surprised that they would even worry about cutting it. I mean, I get it because it was the 90s or late 80s. So yeah, they're a little more puritanical, kind of like how we are now. We're coming full circle on that. But it's interesting because that's such a cool idea. I was like, it kind of obviously a more witchy version of pie. A cool little detail I forgot because I knew about the pages, and I was like, man, okay, yeah, let's do it. But you're 100% right. I would say the same thing. I wrote it down in my little notebook here. The direction, tone, everything. Yeah, the Warlock is a completely different Warlock. I mean, in fact, I'd actually say this is more of a Warlock interpretation, where in part 2, to me, it was more of he was more like a wishmaster villain, which I love. But it's like this, he was proper. He was kind of classy,
Truly.
So well, that's funny because that actually stems from David I always had a hard time with that dude's name. The guy that did Pitch Black, David Twohy, who wrote the script.
Yes.
Yeah. Initially, his idea was to have the Warlock be innocent of his crimes and then go back in time, and he's still persecuted. And he was trying to kind of like find a way, how do I make the Warlock a good guy, but he's kind of becomes a bad guy because of outside forces. And he realized that doesn't fucking work. So he just made the Warlock a bad guy. But there's little glimpses, especially when you compare it to part 2, where there's, I guess, humanized him. For example, he walks in the house of that couple, with the woman who's pregnant. And before he shows up in the house trembles and the cross falls on the ground. And then he walks in the house. First thing he does, put the cross back on. If it would have been Warlock part 2, he would have stepped on it. And then he walks in and basically threatens the husband and says, look, if you don't tell me what I need to know, your babies, are going to come out deformed or something along the lines.
Tell me, Stuart, lest your children be born slugs of cold flesh.
And then he tells him what he needs to know, and he lets him live.
Yeah, he's not vindictive in this one at all. And the second one, he was like trying to trick you so he could kill you. I mean, he was going out of his way to hurt you in this.
Yeah.
I wrote down like he has a purpose, and he's evil, but I mean, he doesn't go out of his way to harm and hurt because he's really just on a path. It's like
On a mission,
he's a noble bad guy in a weird way. But I also think a lot of that has to do with like the presentation from Sands. You know, the best line is when he's like the little kid from Step by Step.
Yeah.
He's asked about which is one of my favorite parts. He goes, "No witch can set foot on church grounds."
No witch can set foot on church ground.
You know, he wasn't just like, I can't go in there. He was really like, you know, it just seemed like he was like, hey, I can't do that. Come on, man, that's not a punk game. No, I was like, how? It's just this delivery because it's not the same Warlock, of course, but it is not the same Warlock in every way because it almost like I said, this is more of a witch. He's spells. He needs to create things.
I know the word that cannot do all you have wrought.
Sorry, it's not for sale.
I never said anything about buying it.
Humor in this, which is good, but also I think why I always lean towards 2 is that this is a funny movie.
Part two was funny too, just more dark humor, I guess.
But it was meme humor. This it's fish out of water. So it's like you know, it's trying to bring the weather vane on the plane, which I love because I love everything pre 9/11 because it's so it's like how you know this giant deadly thing. It is just like
got somebody lighting up a cigarette on that plane at some point, you know. So I'm like,
cutting knife and fork, you know.
The good old days, yeah. That always killed me. Actually, it reminds me of totally like tangent Andrew Dice Clay joke, yeah. You know, he says something along the lines that, you know, you could go in the plane in the old days, you know, you had a smoking section, non-smoking section on the plane. So he goes, you know, I come in the plane, the light goes up, no smoking. First thing I do, I light it up. And then, you know, his jokes about like the stewardess comes and busts his balls and he's like, oh, we're in a tube. We're in a fucking tube. The smoke's gonna go wherever the fuck it wants to go, you know, and that's true. So yes, all that to say, smoking sections in planes were stupid. I remember the smoking sections at McDonald's. I used to go to McDonald's when I was a kid, and there'd be smoking section, non-smoking section. But the smoking sections weren't closed off with glass like they did like later down the road.
Just at the corner.
So, you know, if I'm on this table and this motherfucker right here is smoking, I'd be smoking too. You know, it was the stupidest fucking thing. But I digress. Back to the film. I'd totally forgotten how, you know, there's a lightness about the film, and I think, you know, it has a lot to do with what you said, the fish out of water stuff, the casting of Richard E. Grant as
he nails it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Well, I'm sure you know, initially it was reversed. Julian Sands was going to play the hero, and Grant was going to play the witch. But Steve Miner thought it was more interesting to reverse their casting, and I totally agree.
Which is it's funny because I read that and it said because Sands
type.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, all I know is Sands is essentially a bad guy. I still to this day, if I see a web, I'll get a stick on a wiglet, you know? That fucker just messing things up all the time. It's like, yeah. Like I want to go back and see what Sands is a good guy. But I guess if you think about it, E. Grant has more intense eyes, and Sands he has a softer. He's an English, like proper English thing. So I think it's kind of cool. Because now I associate proper English looking people as villains because of Warlock.
Like a relative?
Like a father.
Yeah, no, I thought, you know, his soft features, he looks like, actually, they even say that in the trailer. He has the face of an angel. The charm of the devil, or some shit like that. But he does, you know, he's a very, you know, soft features, and I think it serves the role well.
You sexy thing, you sexy thing.
And you're right, though. Totally.
He owns that movie. Actually, you know what? He definitely really owns part 2. He owns part 1 as well, but he's really well supported in part 1, I feel. By Grant, by Laurie Singer, the chick from Footloose.
She's let's be honest, out of the 3, Sands and Grant are doing all the lifting.
Yeah, but I think in terms of what her role demanded, she did great. Although I'm sure you heard as well that she was a pain in the ass on set. She didn't want to wear the old age prosthetics, so they had to kind of like half-ass it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's fine. She's fine. Like I said, I think all 3 of them work well together because essentially it's like it's a road trip movie. So she's our guide, you know, into the real world, and Grant's just all wacky and not a touch here. But yeah, I got to be honest. I think I'm with you. I think I appreciated the tone of this more this time because it's such a contrast to the second. So it's almost like I get, Warlock 2 is essentially just another version of Warlock 1 in a different realm. So it's like, I essentially get Sands playing two different characters with the same eld, and then I get two different versions of a general story. It's like, oh, fuck. I wish third came back and just did this again in a weirder tone.
We won't get started on part 3 right now.
I know, but it's like without Sands. I mean, but whatever. I get you. I just like his witch get up, his witchery. He's floating and doing all the cool old school CGI stuff. It's like I love that, man. The smoke tank clouds. I got to be honest. I'm like obsessed with that. Really, I just want to make a movie so I could bring back the old tank cloud.
One scene that really, I remember at the time I was reading Fangoria, and there was one scene with the psychic, which we talked about earlier before. But the initial version of that scene, the Warlock freezes her, and the eyeballs are on her breasts, and then he shot. And this is when, and like I said, there's a snippet of it in the trailer. This is when, he says, you witness the new Messiah or something like that. And then he shatters her into pieces and picks up the eyeballs that, guide him. Those kooky eyeballs. That's pretty funny, actually. That's pretty funny, actually. There was a lot of weird little funny things in this movie. It's unfortunate because I like that kill. I like that the eyeballs are on the breast. I think it's freaky. That would have been.
But it's also, we talked about this. We've been so weird with nudity. It's just even if that doesn't have to be like erotic nudity, but I always think nudity does add a bit of edge to something, and it makes him a little more aggressive. I don't know, and also it's like you said, it's more unique. I didn't know about that one. That kind of breaks my heart. Yeah, because it means that this is definitely toned down more than I thought it was. I thought this was pretty much mostly of what they were going for.
Again, it was the result of a test screening. And if I'm not 100% sure. I think either it was too offensive, but I also heard somewhere that the effect was not efficient.
Didn't look good.
Yeah, it didn't look as good as it should. So they went and reshot it, and the way that it is now with her freezing, but he just scoops up the eyeballs and goes about his merry way.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Like, I guess if I respect the idea of them trying and it didn't work, so I guess I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but test screening stuff always bothers me because most of the stories I hear about movies that got screwed are always a test screening, and it's like, like we talked about, believe in your artist, believe in them, and maybe if you have issues, but like don't talk about some guy from Illinois. He's like, I don't like titties,
I was part of a test screening once in a film I was an actor in, and the film was shown for free in the rough cut form. So without the VFX, without, just rough cut. And it was filled with regular people, quote unquote, a lot of teenagers, young adults. And then at the end of the test screening, people are handed out like a piece of paper and you write something on it. Like you write, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, whatever. So it was like, fucking hundreds of these papers. And after the screening, I started reading these papers and I'm like, okay, not very educated opinions, this movie is shit, that girl was shit, it was everything shit.
Not in depth,
not very in depth, and not very thought out. But from all the, let's say 200 piece of paper opinions, if you will, there was at least two, that's like, oh, maybe they're onto something. And then I think it's the creator's job to be able to discern what is bullshit and what is something that could actually be used to better the movie. With Break, my upcoming film, I sent it to like 20-30 people to get outside opinions, and for the most part I would get stuff that didn't really, I'm like, no, that's bullshit, and then that person's onto something, so it's good sometimes to have outside eyes when you create something before you finalize it, because everybody gets too close to a movie. I'm sure Steve Miner didn't know what the fuck he had when he,
But my question is does the director then have direct contact? Because I always thought the studio takes the notes and then they tell the director what to do. I didn't realize the director was involved in the first step.
No, the director is involved as well. The studio has the final say because
so the director can theoretically Just be like, I know, I like the titty. I like the titty eyes.
Yeah, he could have tried and pushed and lobbied for what he wants.
But again, that's saying if it wasn't a bad effect, because that actually does change a lot. It's like the Goonies squid thing, where it's like, yeah, if it doesn't look good, I get it.
Yeah. So what's your favorite scene from the movie? At top of your head.
That when he's talking to the kid from Step by Step, and he's just being so damn charming. I mean, I guess I'm going to put two scenes together because it cuts to Grant and Cassandra doing the thing. I love the idea of him talking to the kid. It's like, but witches can't have brooms, or he's saying something about that. He's like, and then it cuts to him flying down the road, and it's that cool effect of him just on some sort of like machine,
like Roadrunner kind of shit.
Yeah. It's mean, and I think that's a cool juxtaposition of him being sort of like evil and charming, and then we also get the kind of that fun shit, which is him going by the police radar, and it has that sort of, like you said, that Looney Tunes kind of vibe. Yeah. I like that. And one more, the death of the Warlock I find is cooler in this one. It has a cool effect of the veins popping, and he's like sort of like melting. I like that death a lot more than the one in the sequel. Honestly, I think it looks better, but it's obviously more practical.
Definitely.
What about you, buddy?
Oh, well, I love the scene with the little kid and the way it goes. And I really, watching the scene, I really believe that the Warlock, until he found out the kid was not baptized, had no intention of killing the kid.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, he was just talking to him, and then, he found, oh, you're not baptized. Why aren't you at church? I'm not baptized. My dad doesn't believe in that Jesus stuff. And he's like, and then, and it cuts a bit. I think it cuts to something else, and then back to him like making his fat drink.
it's blue.
Yeah. I love that scene. I really love the scene with in the the barn, I guess, with the Amish. I kind of love that the old Amish dude with like the beard, he knows what the fuck's going on.
Oh, yeah, he notices right away.
Yeah. He's like, the cream sour. He's got the checklist. He knows that shit down pat. He goes and puts the sign on the door, and then I love the chemistry that once what's his name, Renfield. What's his freaking name?
It's
Redfern and Cassandra show up. Oh, you've got to be witching. And they get together, and he's in the attic, and the stuff with the nail in the sand later on.
Yes,
I loved as well.
The tying the magic is cool. I'm not going to step over you, but something like that, like, okay, the nail and the footprints in the sand hurts him. It's like, I like that stuff. The spells, that's a cool, because it's a witch, but I agree, like that actually elevates this into something unique.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, the only scene that I really felt suspense, tension, like, come on, was the scene where the Warlock is passed out in a train car and has Cassandra's bracelet around her wrist, and she's running after it. And, I hadn't seen the film in a while, so it's like, come on, fuck, go get it. So I was into it, enough to feel that tension. So that was cool.
I agree, man. So then, is there anything you don't like? Any negatives you want to bring up?
Well, some of the effects are a little cheesy, especially the first one. I actually laughed out loud.
The tornado?
I didn't mind the tornado. When he comes out of the barn flying, he's like a cartoon. I don't know. It just looks really weird. So the effects were not always up to
old age makeup looked a little shoddy back in 1991.
Yeah, but that's her fault. Betty, who
true.
Who wouldn't wear the legit makeup. So shame on you, Lori. Shame on you. And I think more could have been done. More could have been done with the fish out of water stuff, the witchcraft stuff. But I know, it was a low budget film for its time, anyways. I felt more could have been done. There could have been more excitement. But
okay.
But what's there? It's entertaining from beginning to end. It's an easy watch. And the score by Jerry Goldsmith really helps as well.
I agree.
So it's a really easy watch. It's fun. It's funny. Good performances. Good score. Actually, some good directing moments as well, I thought. And overall, very satisfying watch.
Okay. So here's the thing. I like Steve Miner. I wrote down. Well, I shouldn't say wrote down. I pulled it up, so I know. He did House. He did Warlock. He did 2 and 3 of Friday the 13th. All movies I love.
H2O, your favorite?
Yeah, I have that up there. Yeah. So, but this H2O is the tie into this, which is I think he's a really pragmatic director, but I think there's a style sometimes he just doesn't have, and the material demands it. So, Warlock, I found, besides a couple moments, was kind of bland in its directing. Especially the first half, I was like, oh man, like the parts in the house, I was like, am I watching step by step? Why is it covered like this? Why is it just so standard? And I'll be honest, a lot of this could come from the fact that I've always leaned towards 2, and with Hickox, I mean, he's just such an energetic director, and I feel that fits. And not saying that I need the same for here, but I just think there was a little pizzazz missing that could have elevated some of the stuff they were doing. If I'm being honest, maybe
no, I feel you actually, and I think maybe that's why initially I found it flat. There is a bit of a flat's not really the right word.
No, but the lighting is flat most of the time.
Very basic.
Yeah. Yes.
Very basic in terms
Mids,
of the
wides,
way
that's it.
everything's communicated visually. It's not a very kinetic movie like Warlock 2, for example. But I don't know, on this watch, I don't know, I like the cinematography, and I think I was just engaged by the story and engaged by the characters, and that the visual, the fairly, I don't want to say a bad word. I'm not going to say pedestrian. Basic is also bad. The no frills. There you go. The no frills directing didn't bother me as much as it did the first time I saw it. I thought I actually kind of lent to it in terms of the kind of story they're telling. Where part 2 is, it's like, almost like Giallo affinities in part 2. The way they go about it,
which is funny because I love part 2. I love it. That's my.
But you hate Giallos, so there you go.
But maybe I have a friend, right? Big music guy. I'm talking. He plays every instrument, and this is relevant, so it's not a tangent. Doesn't like gospel at all, but he loves bands that are influenced by gospel. So it could be that I don't like Giallo, but I really love people influenced by Giallo. Maybe because if you think about it, I love bright colors. I like interesting angles. So maybe if you just chip away at this hard shell of mine, I might actually like Giallo somewhere in there. Maybe I'm just like a flower that needs to blossom.
Maybe you are, man. Maybe you are. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, the director doesn't necessarily work for me, but I said that as somebody who loves the movie, owns it over here, and would fight somebody if they didn't. So it's like, dude, Warlock's fun. If you don't like Warlock, it's like, go somewhere else and be that guy who's just like, I just like Oscar movies. It's like, no, Warlock is awesome and have fun.
Yeah,
and Sands steals the fucking show from A to B, man. I mean, he owns it. His class is his persona. I mean, I watched something on, it was some LA news, but I saw the video and they and I was like, I wonder what they're going to say for Sands, when they're talking about him missing, like, what's the movie?
Room with a View, or...
And it said Warlock, and I was just like, out loud, I go, damn right. Well, part of it's like, yeah.
Definitely horror fans, though, always, remember Mr. Sands. I have. I mean, for Warlock, I know
he is the Warlock.
Yeah, exactly. I know him because of Warlock and Warlock 2. That's it. Of course, I saw him in Naked Lunch. I saw him in Arachnophobia.
Sure. And I was like, yeah, Warlock, keep going. Try to fuck RoboCop and Naked Lunch. Try to get the spiders to kill people, or not try to kill them. Try to get the spiders come out of its hiding in Arachnophobia or Warlock. Yeah, dude. And I don't mean that as disrespect. You said something the other video that we're talking about how, in the end of the day, you could make 40 movies and maybe the one that truly connects and it gets you big isn't the one you love, but you should always be grateful. And I know that he is grateful, and I was always worried he wouldn't, because I always thought he's like classy and the level.
He is classy.
But I mean, what I mean, but I always thought is the whole time I thought this, if one guy was going to look down on his past work, it'd be him. Because he does a lot of plays, a lot of shit. Juilliard, he's in videos. I'm like, oh, dude, there's no way. And then I watch a bunch of videos of him from 2 years ago or a year ago. Yeah, dude, I love Warlock. I'm all about this. And dude, it warmed my heart, because it's not like I need him to like it, because I'll always love it. It's mine. It's not his. But that confirmation, though, was like, okay, he gets what I get in some weird way. Even as an actor, he's like, yeah, Warlock. And that for the rest of my life. And I hope to God, he's okay. I'll love him forever because it's like, dude, he's the Warlock.
Yeah, definitely. I'll drink to that, actually. To
The
the
Warlock,
Warlock,
John.
to Julian Sands. So what about you guys and dolls? Are you Warlock fans? Are you as
One,
concerned
two.
about 1 and 2, 1 or 2, or 1 and 2? Spit the comments below and let us know which one you like best, what you like about the first film, what you don't. And, you know, if you're not the praying type, you know, some people pray, some people don't, which is fine, to each his own. But send positive energy Mr. Sands' way, because 10 days in the mountains, ooh, he needs it, yeah.
Until next time, John, I love you, buddy. Please be safe.
I will, man. I'll go, yeah, have another drink. Cheers.
On the soaked streets of Blue Island. And my father, though a strong man, you know, I swear I saw him crying. Another generation gone.